What's up, everybody? It is your boy Baddog here with a New York Giants video. And it's been a while since I've done a Giants video because, let's face it, there really hasn't been much to talk about. And I kind of wanted to take a little bit of a break from it. It was a long season. It was a good season for the New York Giants. It was a great season, the best season we've had in a long, long time. It was exciting. It was nice to see us back in the playoffs. Great that Coach Dable won Coach of the Year. Well deserved. Saquon Barkley could have easily won Comeback Player of the Year. Went to Geno Smith. That was also well deserved. So I have no problem with that. So it was a really good year for the Giants. They overachieved. I don't think there's any question about that. They really don't have a ton of talent. And that's why Coach Dable won the Coach of the Year, because I feel like he got the most. I think absolute most. He squeezed every drop of blood out of that stone that was the New York Giants roster. Dealt with a lot of injuries, a lot of, things, whatever. So he did a fantastic job. Daniel Jones also did a great job this year. Daniel Jones was a lot better than I thought he would be this year. Felt like he commanded the huddle really well, became a leader, had 5 game-winning touchdown drives. Could have had, he had a game-tying touchdown drive and 2-point conversion against Minnesota where we ended up losing. That wasn't Daniel Jones' fault that the guy kicked a 63-yard field goal. And then he had probably the game of his career against the Vikings in the playoffs, absolutely dominated and looked unstoppable. It looked really, really good. That's the type of quarterback that you want. You look at the way he performed there and said, hey, if you got that from the guy every week, he would be a top 10 quarterback with ease. I know myself and Chris, and I wasn't even going to do a video about this because the Daniel Jones subject is so touchy. Like, you can't win. You support Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones sucks. You don't want Daniel Jones. What the hell's wrong with you? Daniel Jones is God. You can't win either way. I don't really give a shit. I'm going to tell you my opinion, okay? $35 million for Daniel Jones. 4 years, 140. I figure the ability to get out after 2 years, type of thing that the Raiders did with Derek Carr. Perfect contract for Daniel Jones, in my opinion. Okay, $35 million, 4 years. Get out after 2 if he regresses. You move on if he does, or he's young enough that if he kills it the next 2 years, you extend him. You rip up the contract to give him a better contract. That's where I was with Daniel Jones. Now Daniel Jones fires his agent, and these rumors are out there that he wants $45 million a year. He ain't worth $45 million a year. Not my opinion. He ain't worth $45 million a year. If that's what the guy wants, let him walk. And the reason I go in that area is this. We do have a lot of cap space, but we also have a lot of holes in the team. Daniel Jones played incredibly well with what he had around him. And I do believe that he elevated some of his players like Isaiah Hodgins. I really do. Wan'Dale Robinson got hurt, but Wan'Dale Robinson could be a nice piece. Daniel Bellinger also looked pretty good, but we need interior offensive line help. We need a middle linebacker, inside linebacker. We need cornerbacks. We have to think about extending Andrew Thomas at some point, or giving Andrew Thomas money. What about Dexter Lawrence? You give Daniel Jones $45 million, it's hard to fill the holes around him unless you just don't miss on the draft, right? You have to fill in every hole in the draft, which is really how you're supposed to build a team. But you really don't have a lot of flexibility, and it's harder to keep your really good guys if you do give him $45 million. So if you can't build around Daniel Jones and give him more talent, which is a lot of people said, hey, give the guy more talent, myself included, let's see what he does. Give him an A.J. Brown and a Devontae Smith in the best offensive line of football, or one of them, and let's see what he does. See, I believe he could be a top 10 quarterback without her on him, and I do believe that the Giants could really be a serious contender if you got Daniel Jones, a great offensive line, and number 1 receiver. But you pay him $45 million, you're not going to be able to do all that. And I have a bad feeling that if we don't, and you pay Daniel Jones all that money, that this year is our pinnacle. I'm not saying we won't get back here, but I'm saying if you give Daniel Jones $45 million, you're giving him a lot of the cap, and I don't think the Giants are going to be able to take the next step. I feel like they could be this good where they won 9-10 games, maybe won a playoff game, but then you're kind of stuck in purgatory because you're kind of drafting in the 20s every year, and it's not as easy, And of course, that's the GM's job. But I'm not looking to give Daniel Jones $45 million. In my opinion, Daniel Jones needs Brian Daboll more than Brian Daboll needs Daniel Jones. That's just the way I look at it. And you can get pissed off and go, oh, no, I don't. Listen, Josh Allen is fantastic. one of the most talented quarterbacks we've ever seen with the physical skills, the athleticism, no question. He took a step back. He took a step back this year. So I'm not saying he was bad, but he wasn't as good this year as he was in 2021. And if you don't think that Brian Daboll had something to do with that, well, I think you're crazy. And if you don't think that Brian Daboll had a lot to do with Daniel Jones' improvement, I also think you're crazy. So, like I said, I don't blame Daniel Jones for wanting money. Anytime you're at any job, it doesn't need to be an NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball. I don't care what you do for a living. If you have a job, you want to get paid the most you can possibly get paid at that job. I'm not blaming Daniel Jones for wanting that kind of money. I certainly don't. But the Giants aren't going to get, I would be shocked if they gave him $45 million. I think Daniel Jones feels he has more leverage than he actually does. The Giants can easily just slap the franchise tag on him for $32 million. And what is he going to do? Sit out the year? Because then he's going to hurt his market value. And I get that he doesn't want to take a Derek Carr type contract, because if he does regress over the next 2 years, or he does have a bad year, obviously he would lose money. This was the first year in his career that he didn't miss time because of an injury. This is the first time in his career that he had a winning season. So he had a great year, but his body of work before this wasn't great, which is why Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll didn't give him the fifth-year option at $22 million a year, because even they didn't know what they had in him. So I don't feel like Daniel Jones has the type of leverage he does, because remember, let me try to say that again. He doesn't have the leverage that he thinks he does. He's not Joe Schoen's quarterback. He's not Brian Daboll's quarterback. He was here when they got here. And Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen could easily say, okay, well, we want to start our own legacy. We'll go get our own quarterback, whoever that may be. Or they could just say, yep, we're going to slap the franchise tag on you, and you're going to play under the franchise tag, and we're going to see what you do in that fifth year. So, again, I'm not blaming Daniel Jones for wanting money. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, he's greedy. He wants it. He's asking too much. And maybe he is asking too much. Maybe nobody else in the league is going to give him $45 million. But I don't blame him for wanting that kind of money. I don't. But I don't think he's worth it. That's just my opinion. Again, you get pissed off. Well, he's worth $100 million. Whatever. I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. That's fine. He's not worth $45 million. He's not an elite quarterback. He's not a top 10 quarterback. Not yet. Could he get there? Possibly he could with better pieces around him. But again, if you're giving him all that money, it's hard to get those pieces that you want to get around him. So to me, I think the Giants are going to say, okay, well, you're not getting $45 million. We will slap the franchise tag on you. You will play under that, or we will tag you. We will trade you, or you can sit out the year. Because I just don't see the Giants giving the guy $45 million, and I wouldn't give him $45 million either. I'm sorry. One good season. It was not great. It was not elite. It was very good. I was very happy with the way he played. I think that he's got a ton of talent. I really do. But again, his track record, it's not like he did this for 4 years. If he would have had, I'm not even saying the winning. I'm just saying if he would have shown these signs of, hey, I can do this, I can lead a team, I can come back in these games, I can stay healthy for the entire season. If he was more consistent with his first 4 years of the Giants, I do believe that maybe he could have got that $45 million a year price tag. But man, I have a hard time. Again, it's not my money, so what the hell? But me as a fan, or me as looking at this, it doesn't matter just with Daniel Jones. This is pretty much with every team I root for. It's hard for me to give a player a ton of money based on one season in this free agent year. It's tough for me. We did that with Kenny Galladay. Well, Kenny Galladay actually had a couple of really good years with Detroit. In his free agent year, he sat out most of that year, and he still got paid. But it's hard when you look at a guy that hasn't been able to stay healthy, hasn't really been consistent, has had a lot of crap around him for the reason that he's been inconsistent. And you get the coach in here that made him a lot better. And now he's trying to get elite quarterback money. I don't see it happening. I don't think the Giants are going to give him $45 million. Maybe Daniel Jones is playing the game here. Maybe Daniel Jones is trying to, chase him away from franchising him, because he's saying, I want $45 million. I am playing under that $32 million price tag. But like I said, Brian Daboll, Joe Schoen, Brandon Brown, this ain't their guy. And he could easily say, fine, you don't need to play. We're going to tag you, and you can sit out. and we'll ride with Tyrod Taylor. We'll go in a different direction. We'll draft a quarterback. Maybe we make it. Maybe if we're going to pay $45 million, we make a run at Lamar Jackson. I mean, who knows, right? Again, that's why I don't think Daniel Jones has the leverage he thinks he does. If this was still Dave Gettleman's regime, then I do. I do believe that. It'll be very interesting to see, just as John Mara's guy, and I believe at the end of the day, this will be John Mara's call, but I also believe that John Mara stepped back quite a bit and has allowed Joe Schoen to do his thing and make these decisions. So we'll definitely keep an eye on it in the coming days and weeks to see what they do with Daniel Jones. I don't think he's worth $45 million. I was more than willing to say, yep, $35 million. I'm good with that. I feel like that's fair. I feel like that's fair to give him, like I said, a 3 or 4 year deal, $35 million a year. And if he proves that he can play really well for the next 2 seasons, then you rip it up and you give him a bigger contract. And if he regresses, you move on from him, because he hasn't been the most consistent quarterback. And yes, a lot of things around him have to do with that, right? Injuries, coaching changes, all over the place, just not a good team. But Brian Daboll made a big difference. And if a team wants to pay $45 million for Daniel Jones, then he might end up playing somewhere else. So one thing I do know is this: no matter what the decision is from our front office, I believe in this front office, and I do believe that they'll make the decision that is best for the New York Giants' future. And we'll see if that includes Daniel Jones or not. Anyway, that's all I got in this video. As always, thank you for watching. Leave comments down below. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, all that good stuff. And like I said, any news on Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, I'll hit you up with a video. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. It's Baddog Dizzle gone.